I'm a
Yeah.
father, and you the straw man God's existence. I notice you're a bit of a fan though, because you don't know me and you're following me on TikTok, and I don't follow you back. So that's kind of crazy. So do you know what the argument to have is for why God exists or no? Do you know the argument or no?
The argument you give?
I'm talking to you. Do you know what my argument is as to why God exists or no? You don't know
No,
the
I haven't.
argument?
I'm doing the argument for theism.
Okay, so I'm going to give an argument for theism, right? Assuming that you're an agnostic atheist, right? And I'm going to see what your issues with the argument, right? So the argument is quite simple, right? So necessarily speaking, if something possesses logically consistent, semantical, or conceptual conditions, then it exists. Do you accept or reject this proposition?
Wait, can you repeat that really quick? I'm writing this down.
You said what, sorry?
I'm writing this down. Can you repeat it?
So I'm asking you right now, right? Do you accept the claim, which is that necessarily speaking, if something has logically consistent, semantical, or conceptual conditions, then it exists? Do you accept this claim or no?
If something exists and has logically consistent conceptual and logical conditions, it
No, you got it
exists.
switched around. It's a conditional sentence. It goes like, if something has logically consistent, semantical, or conceptual conditions, then necessarily it exists. Do you accept this claim or no?
No, I don't even premise one.
Okay, so you agree that like in modal logic, necessity is going to be like something which is indicative of universality, right? It quantifies over all possible worlds, right? You understand this, right?
Yeah, something's necessary to
So
exist in
that
the
means if
possible.
something is necessarily true, there are no counterexamples. So the fact of there not being counterexample, which would disprove this claim, is going to be strong evidence for the claim being correct.
I don't know what you mean by, I don't know what you mean by that. Right. All that implies is that if something's contingent, then it fails to exist in an impossible world.
No, it just points out that there's
Um,
abductive justification for premise one.
so
Because if something is necessarily true, what we would expect under that hypothesis is that there are no counterexamples in the data. We'd expect this.
the counterexamples, like referring to things that contradict it.
I don't think you understand it, right? So if I say A equals A is necessarily true, then what we would expect, if that is to be the case, is that there would not be any instantiation of A which is not A, right? So
Oh yeah,
necessity claims is going to imply universality of a fact, right? That's just how it works.
yeah, that's
Now,
true.
there's no counterexample to that claim, so that means that there's evidence supporting that premise, and so premise one is true.
I think the application that you're implying here is a bit of an opaque context.
What do you think my argument is currently for premise one?
Yeah, if something, yeah, right, yeah, if there's something that is logically and conceptually coherent, or sorry, has coherent conditions, then it's necessary.
Specifically, talk about first order properties, not second order properties like existence and so forth. Just first order properties, right? So if something has logically consistent first order semantical conceptual properties, then it exists necessarily. The idea is that's a necessity claim. That's what is called a strict implication in propositional logic. And to basically just establish the argument further, right? If you have a claim which is necessarily true, you will not see any counterexamples to that claim being true. I.e., there's not going to be any instantiation which demonstrates the falsity of the given claim because it's a universal claim. When you say something is necessarily true, you're quantifying overall possible worlds, and in overall possible case scenarios, there's not going to be a counterexample. And we see this when it comes to this specific premise, and so it's going to be strong evidence for the claim. The conditional probability of the claim being correct is going to be 1, given the available data, and it's going to be something which is higher than the probability of the opposing hypothesis. So premise 1 is true, given the evidence. There's not a single thing with logically consistent first-order properties which do not exist.
Again, it seems to lead to an opaque context where it's the case where we can approach something as fulfilling these conditions, but would otherwise be false in some possible world. And that, like, if something's like conceptually and logically consistent, and has logically consistent preconditions, well, I'm not sure how it follows that that thing necessarily exists. We could conceive of some object which fulfill those conditions, but yet doesn't seem to exist.
Which object fulfills those conditions which does not exist?
Well, we can think of some simplistic object, like perhaps a pencil or even a mug.
Yeah, so why would those objects not exist?
Yeah,
Pencils do in fact exist.
yeah, like there wouldn't be any conceivable like contradictory like conditions in which it doesn't exist. I don't think anyone within modal logic.
Your supports the point I'm making. If you're saying that it is not conceivable for it to not exist, then my argument demonstrates it exists and that you agree to my position.
Wait, can you repeat that? Like your accent was a bit difficult to follow.
That was not even stated with any accent whatsoever. So I'm going to repeat it one more time, right? Because you're a slow boy, right? So
I'm not sure whether you
what's up?
tell me you have no sentiment.
I'm not sure why you're just trying to like do the weird rhetorical thing, where you think that talking about the accent is going to make you look better than the optics, especially when you have a trash mic and you're slurring over your words because you have bad articulation. So the point I'm making is very simple, right? So I want you to turn your brain on and just listen to what the fuck I'm saying, right? So I'm telling you right now that you point into examples. You said what?
I said you got him there.
Anyways,
because that was like pretty
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
just even if you're my supporter, just don't do that, please. I appreciate it, dude. So as I'm saying, as you're pertaining or as you're talking about the argument itself, right? If you have a claim which is necessarily true, there are no counterexamples. You're trying to claim there are counterexamples, and you've not given the counterexample because the things you've pointed towards, you believe, are the types of things which are counterexamples, or things you're actually agreeing do in fact exist. There will be a counterexample. For it to falsify premise one, you have to point to me towards something which satisfies those conditions which do not exist. And you've yet to do that so far. So are you going to point to any example of this?
What do you mean when you refer to like it doesn't exist? You're referring to it doesn't exist in the actual world, or you're referring to it doesn't exist in all possible worlds, or like some possible worlds.
When you're talking about existence, you can talk about the actual world. Still doesn't matter anyways.
Wait, it would be relevant. Like we can accept that mugs exist within the actual world, but that doesn't mean one would have to accept that mugs exist within all possible worlds. That seems like a bit of an absurd application.
Yeah, so I don't think you're understanding the point here, right? The point here is simply that we're talking about what would necessarily be the case given a particular condition, right? So it might not be the same mug which exists across all possible worlds, but we know that for any mug X, because it satisfies those conditions, then necessarily would exist. You might want to say that it doesn't logically follow, however, you don't have to demonstrate that a necessity claim is correct on the basis of deductive logic. What it could do instead is it could compare both hypotheses. So there's a thing in probability theory that is called binomial probability distribution. It's when you compare two opposing hypotheses. I know you don't know about this because you're really retarded, right? So you have hypothesis A and you have hypothesis not A. Hypothesis A is saying that this is necessarily true, and hypothesis not A, which you can fill in the blanks, which I don't think you can, by the way, but I'll just do it for you, would just be a negation towards that. It's just to say that it is not necessarily true. Now, the hypothesis that it is necessarily true would expect the data that we see currently, right, more than the negation hypothesis. That means that the data that we're looking towards currently is evidence for hypothesis A, which is that it is necessarily true, over the negation position, and so premise one is true given the evidence.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if the abductive reasoning you're referring to here actually is in support of what you're talking about here. Well, just to be clear, you would say that the first premise is that if some objects exist, there exists something in which is logically consistent, conceptually, semantically, etc. And if that's the case, then it's necessary. Well, I mean, I'm not sure.
If that's the case, it necessarily exists.
Yeah. So
given that condition,
yeah, I mean, like when you say that it's going to be the case that under the abductive reasoning that we should accept that something like a mug is necessary, well, that seems a bit absurd. I think the reason why we'd say that's absurd and that under this application of an opaque context, well, I mean, I don't think anyone with a modal logic accepts this. I don't think any modal logician would say this.
So your argument is no one. So your argument. This is your argument, by the way. These are your words, not mine, right? So this is what low tiers do, by the way. Your argument is it seems absurd, quote unquote, and another argument is it is the case that no one in modal logic philosophy agrees with this, quote unquote. So the first argument is an appeal to incredulity fallacy, and the second argument is an appeal to consensus fallacy. So your two arguments in response to my legitimate argument, which is based off abductive justification, is in the form of two fallacies.
Yeah, the reason
and you
why
to take it seriously?
Yeah, the reason why the abduction fails is because you said the the inference, the best explanation is that it is necessary, but that doesn't seem the explanatory. Well, not just that it doesn't seem this way.
Brother, abductive justification is not confined to explanatory power. That's a straw man. I'm not
Wait, what?
appealing to explanatory power. So when you're talking about just not tracking, dude, you can have abductive justification even if you're not talking about explanatory power, right? So by abductive justification, there are multiple different virtues, abductive heuristics, right? You have explanatory power. You have things such as predictive power. What I'm going under here is predictive power. I'm going under the predictive power model to basically generate an argument for the claim.
The predictive model being what?
The claim I was talking about with respect to conditional probability. When you talk about predictions, you're talking about what is more expected given the position.
Yeah, I'm not like what's strengthening.
You're not sure about what this is?
Yeah. Well, now I understand what you mean. I thought you meant that in some other sense, but what's the reasoning to suggest that's more predictive that it would be necessary rather than contingent?
Because the data that we are looking towards is more expected under the hypothesis. So when we talk about predictions, we're talking about conditional probability.
Right, so it's more expected if it's necessary than if it's contingent?
Given the condition that's being laid out, yes.
Well, I don't. The conditional that you
So
laid
the
out.
absence of counterexamples, the probability of that existing, given the hypothesis that I'm postulating, is 1 on the probability scale.
Wait, so it's one that. Wait, under the wait, you'd agree then that
There's no region in the so there's a larger region in the possibility space of my claim being correct in comparison to your claim. And so it's going to be evidence for my claim being correct, all else being equal.
wait, so because a mug would be necessary, we therefore accept that there's more probabilistic power, or like there's more.
No, you forgot the first part. The first part is I'm talking about the fact of the conditional sentence. So there's no case scenario in which there's something with logically stable, conceptual or semantical conditions, whereas that thing does not exist. That's not something which is a part of the data, and so that's going to be more expected under that conditional sentence being correct. So, just to give an analogy, because you're really slow on the topic, if I claim,
really?
okay, you're very slow, right? If I say that A equals A is a
Thought you there,
necessary
bro.
fact,
He just fought the
right?
shit out you.
If I say A equals A is a necessary fact, okay, that means and that would entail that there's no counterexample to that claim, okay? So us not seeing a counterexample to that necessity claim is going to be strong evidence for that claim being necessarily true because that's necessarily expected under that hypothesis, unlike the counter hypothesis. The same logic applies here. The necessity claim, I'm making right now, has no counterexample, and that's going to be more expected under my claim being correct. Therefore, there's stronger evidence for my position, and therefore premise 1 is true.
Wait, do you think premise 1 implicates that necessarianism is true?
I believe necessitarianism is true, and it's not even implying this. Not sure why that's relevant.
You're a necessitarian. Okay. That explains
Necessitarian, and yes, I am.
Okay. Well, that explains a lot of this. Okay. I'd rather hear the whole
Okay,
argument.
so what's your objection to the argument?
Well, I have a few more. Well, I actually have some objections to P1, but I'd rather hear like the whole argument. Then, if you're a necessitist, then this is like a lot more interesting.
So sure. So it's going to be the case that God satisfies the condition, and so God exists necessarily. And if God exists necessarily, He either exists as a mental object or as an extramental object. And the fact of Him existing as a mental object entails a contradiction, and so God would not exist at all. So it has to be the case that, given the conclusion of the first section of the argument, God exists, but only objectively, and so God exists objectively, independent of our minds.
Okay. What? So to make some clarifications, do you think that our world is like 3-dimensional or 4-dimensional?
3-dimensional, 4-dimensional. A world is so we're 3-dimensional beings, and the universe is 4-dimensional. Not sure why that's continue.
Yeah. Do you think that like a 2-dimensional world is conceivably possible or coherent?
2-dimensional worlds exist. Yes.
What do you mean by 2-dimensional worlds exist? Like actually? You think they exist actually?
Brother, you know what the line is?
Wait. A line is.
Do you know what the line is?
Oh yeah, a line
A
within a
line is
three-dimensional.
not two-dimensional.
A line within a three-dimensional
Did
world.
he, did he just say that out loud? Wait, hold on. You think a line in geometry is not two-dimensional?
Not in a 3D world, no.
What the
When
fuck?
we draw a line, it's conceptual. When a line
Every
is
single
created,
time, I can never have a debate with Apollo. Relax, dude. So you think, just to make this clear in the recording, you believe that a line, given how it's defined in mathematics, is not two-dimensional, correct? You believe this. Your words.
conceptually it is 2D, but not like actually.
Wait, conceptual, is that something referring to the mind?
Yeah, like the conception of it.
Are minds actual?
Well, yeah, minds exist.
Okay, so minds exist, so it would be collapsing into the actual world. Gotcha, cool. Wonderful
You're a
conception.
Platonist.
If you want to make it
You're also
simply,
a
a line by
Platonist?
are you claiming that a line is three-dimensional in the actual world?
Yeah, like a line within
That's a
a 3D
logical
world.
contradiction. Are you retarded? A line by definition does not have width,
Right.
so it would not be three-dimensional. When you talk about three-dimensional in spatial context, you're talking about the conjunct of width, height, and length. It would not be the case that a line satisfies all three conditions. It satisfies only two of the conditions.
When the line is created, like
You're
within.
retarded.
Wait. Do you think that a line that is
And the
created,
funniest part about this is you don't even have to be a good Discord debater or a good debater to know this. You actually learn this the first couple of classes in third fucking grade when you do geometry. This is not even a debate. This is not even a debate in anti-feed. You're just genuinely fucking retarded.
You know the Stanford Desmos, right? You're familiar with Stanford Desmos?
Dude, you said a line is three-dimensional in the actual world, even though it's logically contradictory.
Are you familiar with Desmos? It's a
That's not relevant to what we're talking about.
manipulation tool. I'll explain it.
And your mic is like actually muffled, by the way, to be clear.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let me just. Sorry, let me check out my case. Yeah, are you familiar with? Oh my god. Sorry, my Gemini went.
What's up?
Sorry. Yeah, you're familiar with the application Desmos, right? It's a
Yeah, but I'm not sure why that's relevant to my point. My point is a line by definition is not three-dimensional. You cannot say a line is three-dimensional in the actual world because that's logically contradictory. It's not a line. It's a represent. Wait, to be clear, do you think a representation of a line on paper is identical to the line itself? Or are you that retarded?
That's obviously not the case. But just be clear.
Okay, so you understand that your claim is incorrect. Before you pivot away to the actual point, or before you pivot away from the point, you understand now that your claim is incorrect, right? The claim that a line is three-dimensional in the actual world is a contradictory sentence. You understand this, right?
In a strict analytical sense, yeah, that's true. But that's not the relevance of it.
In what analytical sense would it be the case that a line, which is defined as something without width, is going to have width?
Oh my god, I said that's analytically true. I agreed with you, it's analytically true.
Okay, so you're agreeing that it is analytically true that it is two-dimensional, so it is not possible for a line to be three-dimensional.
I'm referring to line in the sense of representation. I mean, like,
Beautiful
you would
conception. So you blundered, right? So you blundered. You admit you're wrong for your own words.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So moving on to the actual point we're talking about here, right? What is your actual objection to premise one?
Do you think lines in the analytical sense exist? Like, what's
You said what? Are going to give an objection to premise one? Or going to keep it derailing?
I'm giving the objection actively. Right. I'm just seeing if you accept these. Right. Do you accept that line? Do you think that lines exist in the analytically true sense? Do you think lines exist in our world?
What does it mean for something to exist in the analytically true sense?
Like, it's true by its, like, in the application of its definition. Like,
yeah, I think it exists objectively. Yes.
You think lines exist objectively? Like,
yep.
Do you think 2D? Wait, do you think 2D objects exist? Then
you can. Yes, you can be a mathematical Platonist, by the way.
Oh well, I'd love to hear the support for that.
Or mathematical realist. Yeah, this is not. These are not confusing concepts.
Wait, mathematical realism doesn't imply that.
You think mathematical realism does not imply being a realist about mathematical objects? which would include lines and geometric objects. Are you stupid? What do you
Wait,
think mathematical realism even is?
mathematical realism is the implication that things like Archimedean rules are true.
You understand that mathematical realism is not just talking about Archimedean rules, right?
Yeah, some of the conceptual rules of mathematics being true, or like mathematical axioms, things like those being true.
Mathematical realism generally is just defined as the position that there are mathematical objects are the types of things which exist, but in most contexts they're talking about things existing extramentally. So I'm not sure what should correct me on this, and just to get
all it's
debunked on the
saying.
spot.
No, that's not even what it's saying. Like all that's what mathematical realism refers to mathematics being actual instead rather than conceptual. It doesn't imply that mathematical objects are real.
Brother, I literally just searched it up, and this is literally what comes up under SCP. Check the chat. What are you talking about? Mathematical realism, which embodies mathematical Platonism, is the metaphysical view that there are abstract mathematical objects whose existence is independent of us and language and thought and practices. Here we have a different source, right, under SCP again, right? You're just dead wrong with this. This is like really embarrassing, right? Here you go again. I'll post another screenshot from 15 sources, including SCP and Internet Encyclopedia of Philosophy, you absolute fucking retard, right? Because you believe for some reason this is not what mathematical realism is claiming, right? It states here, because you cannot read, right? It says mathematical realism, and the Saber, I don't care if someone says that. He's not even the voice call anyways. So it says mathematical realism, often explored via the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, is the thesis that mathematical entities like numbers, sets, and geometric structures exist objectively and independently of human minds, language, and cultural practices.
No, bro, we didn't get it. Jesus Christ. Yeah, well,
Yeah, you
that's
blundered.
fine. Yeah, I'll accept the blunder. That's fair. But the more that I'm the thing I'm implicating here is that well, I guess we can come to a better case. Do you think it's possible for like a 3D world not to exist?
If it's possible for a 3D world to not exist?
Yeah.
If it's epistemically possible, or if it is logically possible?
I'm referring to logical modality.
It's not logically possible, no.
It's not
Y'all
logically
shut the
possible.
fuck up. I'm trying to play something.
That's awesome, man. Well, like, so you think it's logically impossible for like a 3D world not to exist?
Yeah, because if 3D objects exist, then necessarily it will be the 3D world exists, and because I believe that all things in existence are logically necessarily true, then it's going to be the case that those things would be necessary under a logical modality scope.
Again, that's when we refer to the proposition that it's logically we refer to the proposition that it's logically possible for a 3D world not to exist. That's not asserting that for the actual world that's the case. That's not the assertion being made.
I'm not saying that's the assertion being made. I'm rejecting the idea that it's logically possible for it, just because it is the case that necessarily they do in fact exist.
Okay. So, wait, do you think it's axiomatic that like if something's logically consistent, then it exists in all possible worlds?
I don't know what it means for something to be axiomatic, but if you're asking about if it is axiomatic given the axioms of classical logic, no, and that's not relevant if it is necessarily true. There are plenty of necessary facts which are not axioms of any given formal system. Like, for example, 2 plus 2 equals 4 is necessarily true, but it's not an axiom of mathematics or classical logic.
Wait, so
Again, they're just asking irrelevant, derailed questions and not giving an actual legitimate objection to premise 1.
Well, the objection I'm giving more or less is that it's the case that it's logically possible for an actual, like, for some world to not have like 3D properties, like for it not to be 3D. And if that's the case,
So you're just saying it's logically possible for there to be a world without 3D objects, correct?
Yeah.
And what's the proof for that claim?
Well, I would say, like, within the description between the relationship between existence and like the 3D world, it doesn't necessitate that for every possible world, like there is 3D objects.
No, and what's your proof that it doesn't necessitate this given fact, given the evidence?
It's necessarily true that it's contingent. basing for that.
What makes you believe it is necessarily true that's contingent?
Yeah, the reason why we should accept that it's necessarily true that it's contingent is because there's no internally contradictory statement about it's logically there's no there's literally zero contradictory terms in
Yeah, that's not going to work because then you're just going to face the typical no under determination objection, right? So there's no internal contradiction in no, a hypothetical being knowing that it is possibly necessarily the case that 3D objects exist.
I don't know what you mean by the no objection.
No is just a being that knows that this given prop is true. So you have a being named the no, right? If there's no internal contradiction in no knowing that it is possibly necessary that 3D objects exist, then it would be the case that necessarily speaking 3D objects exist because it's a possibility. Possibly necessary entails necessity. And if it entails necessity, then it means it is necessarily true.
Wait, it being possibly possible is means this necessary.
Possibly necessary. So if something is possibly necessary, then it is necessarily the case. And for something to be possibly necessary, that possible necessity has to be a possibility. Because necessity implies possibility. So the whole standard of justification that you're utilizing here to say that it is going to be a possibility that 3D objects do not exist can be utilized to demonstrate as to why it is an impossibility for 3D objects to not exist, and so you have no sufficient justification. You're stun locked, aren't you? You got intellectually fucking mogged after trash talking so much. Kind of fucking crazy to me, right?
No, it's insane. Wait, so I mean, wait, just to clarify, you're saying that if it's the case that it's possibly possible for something to be necessary, then it's necessary.
No, if it is possibly necessary.
Well, that's not what you said.
Tag me in.
If it's possible,
That's what I said, retard. I said explicitly, and we can ask everyone in the voice call.
Tag me in.
Now you want to lie about what I said to cope with the fact you got stun locked in the conversation and completely knowledge and intellectually gapped. Right, so I made it explicitly clear. We talked about possible necessity. Not possibly possible, but possible necessity, which is different. I said, if it is possibly the case that you have no that knows that it is possibly necessary that 3D objects exist, then necessarily speaking, 3D objects exist, and therefore it's impossible for it to not exist. Therefore, that will be incompatible with your position.
Tag me in.
I'm not sure I'm not sure what the relevance of no there.
By the way, if you're using ChatGPT, it's not going to work because I'm much better than ChatGPT. I've debated and destroyed it several times.
I'm like,
even if you have a 2099 developed version of GPT, it will still not be enough to come against me specifically. I'm sorry. So if you're using AI, just quit that stuff. Just attack the argument, please and thank you.
I don't know what you're talking about, but
I'm waiting for a response to the argument. Or are you just going to concede?
Oh, yeah, I think we'll concede there. I think I did terribly there.
Okay, so which other point do you want to move on to because you're unable to justify the possibility of 3D objects non-existence? Assuming that you're not being sarcastic.
No, you prove theism true, bro. I don't know what you mean.
Double concession?
Yeah, W concession.
Is this the parts where he tries to sarcastically use the tone to imply that he's not actually conceding to cover up his embarrassment?
Nobody mentioned incest, bro.
Actual embarrassment. You said that I talk to children. Where did you get this from?
Yeah, well, I have clips. Well, I'm not sure if they're clips. Wait, actually, I do have a clip, actually. A clip in pictures.
A clip of me talking to a child, right?
Yeah. Hold on, let me get up. Oh, you know what?
You think someone is you're saying I'm a pedophile, correct?
Well, yeah, I meant that in like a primitive way. I didn't mean that in like the sense that you're actually attracted to children.
The colloquial way, which is just, talking to someone is like, disgusting way, despite there being a very disgusting age gap. But real quickly, so you're condemning someone for talking to someone who's 3 years younger than them. That's your sort of like condemnation.
But the condemnation.
Do you think it is abnormal? Do you think it is abnormal? Do you think it is abnormal for a 20-year-old to talk to someone who's 17? Do you think that's abnormal?
Not inherently, but I'm like, so I wasn't just talking. Hold
It's
on,
not
wait.
pedophilic. It's not weird. It's not abnormal. That's actually pretty normal. Not sure what the fuss was about. You said specifically on the panel that I'm a pedophile for talking to someone who is 3 years younger. That's your sort of like
I don't know.
condemnation, moralistically speaking.
I think you fit this colloquial understanding that you were talking to them in a pretty inappropriate way.
So you're saying someone is talking inappropriately, therefore they're a pedophile. That's your sort of like justification for the accusation.
Well, it would fit it would fit the like common understanding of what that means. Not in the
Have I ever talked to anyone who is over 3 years younger than me, who is younger than the age of consent, or have I consistently talked to people who are 3 years younger, or you could say 2 years younger, or even my same age, who is above the age of consent?
Oh, hold on, I'm getting close.
I think the answer is obviously the latter, so I'm not sure what that accusation was about. Maybe it's because he got intimidated by my presence on the panel, so he felt the need to try to get me kicked down because he'll get it back blown the fuck out, like you just did a while ago on recording.
You're a genius intellectual. Like you're better than like Eric, Kojo. Like it's just so true.
No one asked about if I'm better than Eric and Kojo. We're just talking about your allegations, but if you want to run away from that too, just like how your dad ran away from you as a responsibility, then that's fine.
My dad never raised me. You're right.
Gosh. Straight chills.
That was
This
actually
guy's just like an embarrassment. This guy is everything that's wrong with society. We have like disgusting like fuckers who just like comes online and just starts making allegations because they are a failure at Discord debating, right? They are a failure at debating. You come online, you have no real life accomplishments. We know you have no real life accomplishments, right? Your mom comes home late every single night, perhaps like 1:30 a.m. type shit, after getting like gangbanged by a bunch of black motherfuckers in the hood type shit, just to make a couple of shekels to send it to fucking school. And this is the fucking result, right? What we have here is just an example, guys, of a woman who wasted her prime years and basically spit out of her pussy a worthless fuck like Apostle, right? You come on Discord, you come on TikTok, and you accuse people of pedophilia, and then try to troll away out of it when you got embarrassed on the recording. You think it is funny? You think it is funny? You think it is cool to accuse someone of being a pedophile? And this is actually concerning. Let me guess, you got no job, don't you? Let me guess, you got rejected at the McDonald's interview where this fucking actually crazy. This is just embarrassing. Right? The funniest part about this is I'm not even like trying to insult you. I'm genuinely serious when I'm saying that you're worthless fuck to society. You have no sort of purpose to the general human population. And motherfuckers like you should be getting sent to a boot camp. The same type of fucking boot camp, sorry, that the Jews got sent to before they got holocausted type shit. That's the sort of boot camps you should be sent to type shit. No, you got no purpose. You just come online and just sort of like basically gates false agendas. But I'm glad we have on the clip. I'm glad we have on the clip that the things you're saying.
Do you think the Jews deserve that? Jews deserve that. They deserve to be like put in concentration camps.
You're saying if you deserve this?
No, do Jews deserve to be put in concentration camps?
Oh, but we're talking about you, aren't we?
No. Answer the question. Did that?
No, we're not talking about you. We're talking about Jews.
Oh, wait, do you think I deserve to be put in the concentration camp?
I said, of course. You have no purpose in society, bro. You have no purpose whatsoever.
Wait, do Jewish people deserve to be put in concentration camps?
We're talking about you, not Jews. What are you talking about?
Oh.
It took you a while to realize that I'm talking about you, not Jews? Oh, interesting.
You have to say, I don't know.
That is crazy, dude. You're embarrassing. And now you're trying to clip farm by trying to ask me a dumb fuck deal question to try to make it out as if I'm an anti-Semite. You see, this is how worthless you are as a creature. You see, this is why your dad did not actually own the responsibility that I talked about a while ago, right? You have no purpose, bro. Like, you do this retard thing where you got destroyed in the conversation and you're unable to back up your allegations, and so you're trapped into this sort of like low IQ retard moment where you're trying to use these optical strategies, and every single time I use these optical strategies, I just see through all of them and just humiliate even further. And that's the reason as to why the chat is claiming that you got molested in the conversation. No one takes you seriously. And no one will ever take you seriously until you do something with your concerning and pathetic life. You're not doing anything with your life. I'm sorry. Sorry to break it to you. You have no accomplishments, I guess.
I don't know you, but
What skill do you have in real life, Apostle? Do you have any skill in real life? Do you know how to code? Do you do sales? Do you at least work at Wendy's or something? Like, what do you offer to society? Like, from a genuine perspective? Like, what do you?
Yeah, I mean,
You
like
don't do anything, don't you?
I perform a lot of moves, like a lot, like per month.
Let me guess.
Like
Your
our company.
supposed utility. Your supposed utility to society is you playing Roblox, right? It's
No,
you
no.
feeding capitalists. That's your fucking
Well,
purpose to
and then
society.
a lot of people don't want to
That's fucking
physically
crazy,
do the
dude.
moving themselves. Well, then I would say, yeah, I serve a purpose.
You serve a purpose to society the same way that OnlyFans creators serve a purpose to society. Got you, boom.
Well, I serve a
Makes
purpose in
sense,
the
dude.
same way that people move your house for you do.
Yeah, wonderful, dude.
Literally every 6 months we go to a Catholic priest, we help them move, we help all kinds of people. Right? Like I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm pretty sure you help people, man. Pretty sure you do.
Yeah,
Actual
you want to
fucking
hire
bomb.
us? You want to meet us? We can meet.
Yeah, anyways, you got that's in the clip, guys. This guy's a complete embarrassment. Not sure why he tried to claim that he'd have destroyed me on Theism. Like, who the fuck even is this fodder? And the funniest part about this is, to this very second, this guy's still following me on TikTok, who he claims to be a pedophile, begging for a follow back.
Oh, I followed you a
Absolute
while
fucking
ago. I
fanboy.
was following you until I checked.
Genuine embarrassment. This is the same guy, by the way, in the general chat, to be clear, guys. Actual fucking clown, dude.
For sure.
Someone is a pedophile, but you're following them on TikTok, waiting for a fucking follow back.
I followed you because of the argument you gave for
You follow
abortion.
pedophiles now? You follow pedophiles? It's fucking crazy. Might as well
Yeah.
call your ass a fucking Epstein follower type shit, dumbass nigga. See, the funniest part about this is all of the allegations are just performatively inconsistent. The same people calling me a pedophile are the same people inviting me to their servers, debating in their servers, platforming me, and following me. That makes no sense. You're subscribed and you're following a pedophile. Seriously.
I'm subscribed.
If I believe someone is a pedophile, I'm not even contributing to their following list in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, for sure. Do you know why I followed you? Or not? Even though I just said, just to be clear.
You've been following me before I even talked to you today. I don't care about you saying, "Oh, well, actually, once upon a time, I came across your name, and here's my backstory as to why." I don't care about your backstory. You still followed me, so you're a fanboy, right? You're following a quote-unquote pedophile.
Interesting.
Your words, by the way, not mine. You believe I'm a pedophile, but you're following me on TikTok.
Yeah,
Genuinely fucking. What the fuck does that even make
that I
you?
willingly follow pedophiles doesn't implicate that.
No, what does it make you to follow a quote-unquote pedophile? That makes you just as bad as a person, don't you?
What made me
That
follow
makes you just as bad, you fucking retard.
No, that's not true.
So are you
Number
just
two.
as bad as a pedophile, or are you willing to concede that I'm not one? Pick a struggle.
No, I'm willing to concede that's a false dichotomy.
It's a false dichotomy that it is either the case that you are looking as bad as one by following the pedophile, or you are one, or the person is not the pedophile. It is a false dichotomy.
The implication is that the dichotomy you gave is that it's either the case that
Is it a bad thing to follow a pedophile?
it's
Is it a bad thing?
it's
Is
either
it
the
a bad
case.
thing to follow a pedophile?
Yeah, prima facie. Yeah.
You don't think it is necessarily bad? You think it is possible for it to follow a pedophile and it's not bad?
No, it's not bad in all
I think
cases.
it's feasible.
It's obviously not true. Like for
It's
example,
obviously not true that it is necessary.
yeah, like if you're an ethicist, so obviously.
So you think there are feasible, reasonable cases in which it is fine to follow a pedophile? You think that's reasonable?
Well,
Right?
there'd be reasonable cases where you're not in moral wrong
Right?
for following.
Was the yes or no?
But I mean, like the reasonable case is that.
So the answer
For
is
example,
yes. You believe it is feasible to believe that it is okay to follow a pedophile in some cases.
yeah, but you want to hear the reasoning?
Oh shit, dude. Okay, man. Yeah.
Yeah, like if I don't
Yeah,
know,
contributing to the followers
if I
list
follow
of
them
a
prior to
pedophile,
knowing
which is an
they're
indirect
pedophile.
support of a pedophile, is definitely
Wait, do
something
you think everyone
which
who
is not a
follows
bad
James
thing.
Charles and forgot to like unfollow them is like morally bad?
You forgot to unfollow me, huh?
Well, yeah, I haven't
That's
like
your
seen you in
justification.
years. I haven't seen you in 2 years. Like, yeah,
Dog, you're a fucking clown, dude.
really.
All
Do you think all the people? Do you think all the people who follow James Charles and like forgot to unfollow him? Do you think they're all morally bad?
people what, sorry?
Do you think? Well, there's been a recent
Dude,
case where
you texted me on the account today, so that means for you to click on the account to see me and respond to my DMs, you must have seen that you were following me and you still did not retract the follow.
yeah, I obviously didn't think of unfollowing you.
You obviously look like a fucking retard, bro. I'm sorry.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. So I never see any clear reasoning on why that's the case, why there's a prima facie principle. But you're a necessitist, so I guess it makes sense.
Guy's an embarrassment, dude. This nigga's PFP is so disgusting.
Who?
You villain, can you mic up?
Yeah, what's up?
Nothing much, man.
She that dude was pretty down bad. Like,
This is just what I experience almost on a